So now we're going to be looking at the named entities in this dataset. And you'll remember from our earlier lessons that it is better to do this before you do any kind of text pre-processing. So that's why we're doing it now, to give our models the best chance of pulling out those interesting named entities before we go in and do any kind of pre-processing and cleaning of the data. Because we already pulled out the named entity tags in our last lesson when we did the POS tagging, we don't have to do that step again. We can just jump straight in and start looking at what's been pulled out. So we want to start by pulling out the top entities in our fake news dataset. So we'll start by creating our top entities fake, and this is going to be our fake dataset filtered to where the NER tag column is not blank. So this means going through and taking any token that has been recognized to have a named entity in there. We then want to group by the token column and the NER tag column, take the size, reset the index, name it counts, and then sort our values by these counts in descending order. We then want to do the same thing for our factual data, so we'll copy this code over and just swap out the correct data sets. So we're swapping our top entities fake for top entities fact, and our fake tags df for our fact tags df. I then want to create some nice plots of the named entities that have been pulled out so that we can use this in presentations or take it to stakeholders. So the first thing we want to do is create a colour palette to make sure that both plots are in the same colours for the different named entity tags. So for example, if we've got different people being pulled out of the different data sets, we want to make sure that's going to be represented by the same colour in both of our plots, so it looks nice and is easy to understand. We can then go on to use the Seaborn package to create some really nice looking plots. So we're going to start with sns.barplot. We specify our x and y, so our x is going to be the counts and the y is going to be the token. We then specify the hue, which is the colour to use for each bar. So here we're wanting to colour by the NER tag, and the palette we want to use is our NER palette that we created a step earlier. We then specify our dataset, so we're taking our top entities fake, and we just want the top 10 entities for this plot. We then change it to a horizontal bar chart using Orient equals H, and we specify Dodge equals false to get the bars in the right format. We then also set our title to the most common entities in fake news. We can see here the most common named entities that have been pulled out are people, and this is really clearly demonstrated by the colours we chose to use. I wonder if in the factual news dataset, similar names are coming up just as often. So let's copy this code over and have a look at what this chart would look like when we run it over our factual news dataset. So you can see here people's names are much less common. In fact, Trump is the only name that occurs once we look at the top 10 entities pulled out of our factual news dataset. Here, organisations and place names seem to be much more common and there's less of a focus on people. So if you remember when we set up this problem, one of the aims is to investigate how fake news can be recognised. So you can potentially take from this that more names might be used in fake datasets and less so in factual news. This is something you could then do a deeper dive in and explore this more and really get into the data to answer that question for your stakeholders. Let's jump into our text pre-processing and start cleaning up this data for some more advanced analysis.